In this video, we're going to look at task 8 from the second sample assessment for applied management accounting. So in part A, it asks us to complete the following statement. Performance evaluation using return on investment allows, well, what does it allow us? Allow comparison between divisions. So yes, if we look at the return on investment for division 1 and return on investment for division 2, so yes, we can compare how different divisions are getting on because we'll have spent some money to set up those divisions in the first place, so there will be an initial investment and we can look at how profitable they are. So yes, it allows comparison between divisions, so it's either the first or the third. And then the second statement relates to, is there any dysfunctional behavior? Well, yes, there can be dysfunctional behavior. Let's suppose that we have a division and at the moment its return on investment is, let's say, I don't know, 30%, so it's doing really, really well. Now, as far as the shareholders are concerned, they may have a cost of capital of 10%, so they'd be happy as long as they are recovering their costs. So anything above 10% will be good. So for our division, remember they're achieving 30%, so everybody's happy. They're exceeding the 10% that the owners want. And then a new project comes along, and that new project would give a return on investment of 20%. Now, that would still be good enough to meet the expectations of the shareholders, but the division would think, well, do I want to do this? Because if I take on this new project where I only earn 20%, it's going to bring down my average return on investment. So it's going to make me look as if I've done something wrong because I will go down from 30% down to, I don't know, 25%, let's say, if I take this sort of the average between the two. So I'm not going to do this project because it's going to make me look worse. But having said that, it's still going to be great in terms of what the shareholders want. So that's where we get our dysfunctional behavior. We may make the wrong decisions because it will make our return on investment smaller, even though overall it would be a good thing for the owners. Now it continues then in this question. So T Limited has two divisions. Division A makes component X that it can either sell externally or transfer to Division B. Division B would like to order 10,000 units from Division A. So we've got some information about Division A. So at the moment their maximum capacity is 60,000 units and the maximum external sales are 44,000. So if we compare these two, it means that we've got some spare capacity, haven't we, of 16,000 units. Potentially we could make 60,000 and then because we can only sell 44 to external customers, we'd have 16,000 sitting around doing nothing. Now notice that Division B only wants to buy 10,000 of those. So what should Division A do? Should they just throw that 16,000 away, or should they just transfer them to Division B? Well, it would make sense that they sell them to Division B, wouldn't it? So how much should we charge them? Because that's what the question's asking now. What's the minimum unit transfer price that Division A should charge for these 10,000 units? Well, let's think about our relevant costs here. Remember that a relevant cost is a future incremental cash flow. So if we make a product which we're going to sell to Division B, then we need to incur some cost. So we will have to spend £12 to make that product. But what about the fixed costs? Well, that's not incremental to our decision, is it? We'd have to spend that money anyway. So that shouldn't be part of our decision-making process. So our answer is that we should charge them a minimum of £12 to cover our variable costs. Now we might charge them more, and that's something that will need to be negotiated between the two divisions. But as long as we are covering our costs, then that would be fine. Now let's suppose that we have a slightly different situation. Okay, so we've answered the question in the sample assessment, but what if you get a slightly different question in your assessment? So imagine that our maximum capacity was not 60,000, imagine it was only 40,000. So in this case, if it were only 40,000, we could sell everything to external customers for 34. So why would we sell anything to Division B if we could sell them externally? It wouldn't make any sense in this case, would it? So if we were to sell anything to Division B, then we'd have to make sure that we would cover our cost, but also cover any lost sales that we would have by not selling it to external customers. So in that case, we'd also have this incremental cash flow of lost income. So our minimum price in this case would be £46 to cover our cost and to cover our lost income from external sales. Notice though that the fixed cost per unit, because that's not incremental to our decision, would still be ignored. Let's move on then to the next part of the question. So Q Limited has two divisions, Division A and Division B. Until now, performance evaluation has only been at a company level, but it decided to change this and look at divisional performance. The information below shows the performance of Division A for the last year. Yes, we got their sales and so on, but notice at the bottom we've got some assets. And then the question's asking us to calculate the return on investment and the residual income for Division A. So let's think about this return on investment first of all. So our return on investment, well, what is our profit? How much profit have we made? Well, we've got two profit figures given to us. We've got the profit before non-controllable costs and then the profit after non-controllable costs. So which of these is going to be relevant for us? Well, we want to decide how well is this division performing. And if it's performing well, then that's going to be a good thing. But let's think about, what can this division actually control? So we want to ignore those non-controllable fixed costs because that's got nothing to do with the division. They can't do that. They can't influence that in any way. So we need to focus on the profit before those non-controllable costs because the division can actually control those figures. So our return on investment is going to be the 520,000 profit from controllable activity divided by the assets. So that's how much we've invested in that division. And that gives us an 8% return on investment. And then what about our residual income? So that's going to be worked out in a different way. So we've got our divisional assets there, but it tells us that our cost of capital is 7%. So we have invested 6.5 million in this business, and the owners of the business would expect us to be earning 7% profits from that. So our 6.5 million times by 7% means they want a minimum profit of 450,000 or 455,000. Now the good news is that we're actually earning more than that, aren't we? So that means that we are earning residual income of £65,000 because our profits exceed the minimum cost of capital by £65,000. So we can put those numbers into our answer. So our return on investment is 8% and our residual income 65,000. And then the next part of the question is Division B's results have now been produced and show a return on investment of 10% and residual income of 63%. So identify for each measure which division has the strongest performance. So if you think about return on investment to begin with, so we're comparing 8 and 10, so we can see that Division B is better. And then for our residual income, we have 65,000 and 63,000. So we can see in this case, division A is better. And then for the final part of the question, identify whether each of the following statements is true or false. So investing in any project which has a positive residual income will always increase shareholder wealth. Okay, so let's go back to our formula for this. If we go back to the calculation we did earlier for residual income, so remember that our owners need 7% return because they've put money into the business, and their money could be earning 7% somewhere else. They could put that money into some government bonds, let's say, and be earning 7%. So they need to make sure that we are paying them more than 7%. So we are, aren't we? Because their 7% would be the 455,000. We're actually paying them more than that. So yeah, we have an excess. Our residual income is 65,000. So that means we're paying them more than they want. So yes, we're going to be increasing their wealth. So that's true. The next point then is investing in a project with a positive return on investment should always increase shareholder wealth. Well, let's go back to our formula now. So return on investment is our profit divided by how much we've invested in them. Now in this case, we managed to calculate 8%, so that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Yeah. But what if it wasn't as high as that? What if it were just a small amount of profit? Let's get rid of one of these zeros. So let's suppose that the return on investment was 0.8%. Would that be increasing the wealth of the owners? Well, not necessarily, because if they've given up 7% to put money into our business instead of investing it somewhere else, then actually we'd be losing their wealth, wouldn't we? Okay, so they're giving up 7% income from somewhere else to earn only 0.8% from us. So if the return on investment is very small, then sadly we wouldn't be making our shareholders more wealthy.